Welcome back, I'm Tedward, and today, thanks to Bond Group in Waltham, Massachusetts, we're driving a 1999 Toyota Land Cruiser. I have always wanted to drive one of these UZJ100s, and today's the day. In fact, I bought a GX460 in 2023 because I figured it was my last shot at a proper Toyota body-on-frame V8. And looks like I was right, but the good news is you can always go back in time and buy something like this because they seemingly last forever. Whether you buy a Land Cruiser or a Lexus LX, the 470, you're getting a real sturdy machine that can basically withstand world wars, and that's kind of what these do. In America, we often think about Toyota in terms of the Camrys and the Corollas of it all, but these were the real flagships. This is what really showcases Toyota's durability, engineering, and capabilities in the auto industry. And these were not for the faint of heart. In 1999, this would have run you about 50 grand. And in 1998, they introduced this generation. So as a 99 model, this was one of the very first Toyota V8s on the road. Prior to this car, they had the Land Cruiser with the inline sixes. Wonderful, smooth, but I feel like you had to be a real Toyota-phile to get that in the United States. You'd probably be more attracted to a Suburban, a Tahoe, an Expedition, a Navigator. But when Toyota put a V8 in this new generation of Land Cruiser, they put the American SUV directly in its crosshairs. They were ready to party and they were ready to fight for your money. This 2UZ-FE naturally aspirated 4.7 liter V8 makes 230 horsepower, 320 pound-feet of torque, routed through a 4-speed automatic transmission powering all 4 wheels. It has a 2-speed transfer case. It has a center locking diff standard. This one has the optional rear locking diff as well, so getting stuck is basically not an option, especially with the KO2s that are on it. There's an all-terrain. I'm sure that is impacting its dismal fuel economy, which I would not want to be paying for here in 2026 because, well, the gas prices are just going up. Let me start under the hood just because I feel like, here's a nostalgic sound for you. I just feel like it's appropriate to get under the hood and show you this V8 right off the bat because this really is the star of the show. And this engine is special. It's got aluminum heads, dual overhead cams. It's not the American pushrod thing that everyone was so accustomed to. This will still tow 6,500 pounds, but maybe not enough if you were towing your boat or camper in your American SUV of sorts. This will also seat 8 people. Inside, this is wonderful because this isn't even the Lexus. This isn't even the LX. And it's unbelievably well appointed. I kind of dig all of this Toyota leather. It's got a little extra material, so it's cushy, and it's got that sort of like Bentley pillowy look to it, which I dig. I mean, it's certainly not that quality, but it is cool. And anybody who had any Toyota in this time period will immediately recognize this interior. It looks exactly like my sister's beige 95 Camry, and we inherited that 95 Camry from my very cost-conscious grandparents. That car had no options. It had manual locks and manual roll-up, roll-down windows. So to get into this and sort of feel that vibe, but also get the luxuries of the top-of-the-line SUV that Toyota was showcasing to the United States, it is really special. It's an 8-seater, so yes, there is a third row. I'll show you in a minute back there. We're not going to put them down because it's kind of a pain. But there's 3 seats back there. They're not going to be all that comfortable, but you'll get something out of it. They were very conscious of ashtrays back here in case your kids were heavy smokers. They certainly wouldn't want you ashing on the seats. And here in the back, first of all, I absolutely love the style of this. I know it just sort of looks like a box, but it's round in all the right places. And even though this was the big new model, it still harkens back to the 70s and 80s with its style. So you can immediately recognize this as a Land Cruiser. To open the split hatch, we've got a little lever right here. And then got this lever right here. And there you go. You got tons of cargo space. We also have these fold up rear seats. And it is very sort of manual. In my GX, those fold into the floor. It's kind of neat to see these fold up and over. One of the things that happens with these, though, is they get very rusty down in here. This one's really clean. This car has only 88,000 miles on it, which is really fun to see. A well-preserved and well-used version. Now, you do have some vents back here, so although these guys are going to be sitting way in the back, they're not left to die. And actually, I think, yeah, I think these windows pop out. So sorry, I'm learning as we go a little bit on this thing. Handling wise, these trucks are fantastic. Gone were the days of the solid front axle. You get double wishbone suspension up front. You still have a solid rear in the back, of course, but this is maybe one of the smoothest SUVs I've ever driven, and it's 2026, so this thing's 27 years old, and it still feels incredibly good. It still feels like something I would want to drive today. Now, we've got the stylish 5 spokes, the 16-inch wheels with the 4-pot calipers behind them. Right now, we're on a KO2, so these BF Goodrich all-terrains are a little more extreme than what would have come on the vehicle, but that's okay. Extreme is fine. I'm just excited to take you out for a drive because this is a real treat to drive one of these, especially as a current Lexus GX owner. All right, let's get it started up. The first thing you're going to notice, keys. They look, just everything is so Toyota. You even got the green little halo around here. It's very familiar. Probably one of my favorite things is the aerial ascending when you turn that on. And listen to this V8. That's like a sports car. This is what you would have gotten in your SUV. It sounds so good. And it's the little things in these times. The fact that these rear windows, they go all the way down. That's nice to see. That would have been a big deal in '99 for a lot of car owners. They typically didn't have that. Over here, you have your very manual, very mechanical transfer case. Your power button, so it'll shift a little more aggressively. Second, so it'll start in second gear. This stuff, still pretty much the same in the Lexus that I drive today. You've got your center locking diff right here, and then over here, the optional rear locking diff on that. So that's all you need to know. Otherwise, it's pretty self-explanatory. It has the S-tier level HVAC controls. This is what we should have always kept and never strayed away from. I don't understand why we've gone to such a calamity of haptic touch nightmares through infotainment screens that can break and get confusing, whereas I can be driving and I can very easily feel and change things. A handbrake, are you kidding? And even have a nice little armrest here. Into drive. And away we go. The first thing you notice is just how ridiculously smooth it drives. This is a limousine. I'm saying this not in relation to 1999 smoothness. I'm saying this in relation to my current 2023 GX 460 is maybe not as smooth as this 99 Land Cruiser. If you were an Uber driver who could afford the fuel in this, your passengers would be outrageously happy. There is something making a sound down there, but I think it's something that's very easily fixable. I can't tell what it is, and it's not my stuff. Usually it is my stuff. So while this may not be a nimble vehicle, it is smooth and easy and direct, and I'm not chasing it. It's really easy to drive. And I say this because if you were to be driving a Suburban, a GMT 400, you'd be with a recirculating ball system, you'd have much less control over the vehicle. This drives more like a car than a body-on-frame truck. And this started to set a real precedent for how these vehicles could drive. To me, this is one of the first things, the first SUVs that showed that SUVs didn't simply have to be pickup trucks as station wagons. This proved that you could have a well-controlled, easy to drive, smooth and luxurious experience in your SUV. And I think that's kind of hard to remember because SUVs are so ubiquitous today. It's the norm. It's what we drive. So I think we often forget that there wasn't always performance SUVs like an X5M or a GLS 63 AMG. And they weren't necessarily actual luxury cars like an Escalade. I mean, the Escalade was here, but the Escalade was just kind of a gussied up Suburban. And don't get me wrong, I love me a Suburban. I do. But they really did not drive as refined as this Toyota. And that's the thing though. 50 grand for a Toyota was probably a really tough pill to swallow circa 1999. But even if that $50,000 pill was hard to swallow in 1999, these have held value. In fact, Bring a Trailer had one listed with slightly fewer miles than this at about 70,000 miles, and it sold for 45 grand. So I understand with inflation, we're not talking you're earning any money, but you kind of get your money back in some ways that you wouldn't expect with any car, really, and especially an ordinary car, not some collector thing. It's the same reason I went out and bought a brand new GX, because anything used from Toyota or Lexus was the same money with 50 or 100,000 miles. So I was like, well, I'm just gonna go get the one with the warranty, because frankly, something like this is right up my alley, and I would want to buy an exceptional example of one. It just psychologically, I have a hard time spending 40, 50 grand on something that's 20 something years old. I don't know. I figured if I buy the new thing, then hopefully it will retain its value, unless fuel becomes, $30 a gallon, in which case I don't think we're going to be really trading these cars at a very high price anymore. It's you. What is this? I just fixed the rattle. There's this little guy, which must be some sort of like alarm speaker or something. I don't know, honestly, but it was just out of its little cradle. And so it was making all kinds of noises. All right. Now we're quiet. We're good to go. Oh, so much better. I'm sorry for that rattle. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was something deeper, and turns out, very simple fix. It's always the aftermarket stuff, though. It's not something that Toyota had on the car. Hit the power button. Guy's got wooden snakes on his dashboard. I don't trust him. Oh, there's a spider on there too. What is this guy? What are you doing? Hang on. That's bizarre. I'm judging. Well, he's just got a big old spider dangling down the... This is horrifying. These brakes actually feel pretty darn good. When I looked at them, I thought, oh, these are going to be kind of underpowered, but they are not. The problem with this V8 is that it sounds so good, you're going to want to rev it out. So you're going to have to pay for that because it's going to suck a lot of fuel. I would love to drive that. Does anybody have a crane I can drive? It doesn't have to be on public roads. I'm happy to drive a crane on a compound. But this engine just rips. It sounds fantastic. It delivers power in a phenomenal way. This is such a game changer. I'm sat so up high too. I have tons of visibility. I mean, this is amazing because these doors feel almost like flimsy and skinny compared to anything today. They're sturdy for sure. I don't mean flimsy in that way. I just mean that like this A-pillar is narrow and thin. You know, it's not designed for today's crash test, which in a crash, obviously that's a bummer. But in terms of getting in the car and being able to see out of it, well, that's a bonus. There's almost no effort that goes into driving this on the highway either, which is coming as a bit of a surprise to me because I feel like even my GX, I know I keep referring to the GX, but it's a really good comparison for this. This is less effort to drive on the highway. What happened? What happened to cars like this? These were so good. The Land Cruiser name today is a very different thing. It is more of a commercial marketing name than it is a testament to what the vehicle is actually capable of, because the new Land Cruiser is not the flagship of Toyota. It is not the big dog. It is not throwing everything at an engineering project and coming out the other end with the most superior SUV on the planet. That's just not what a current Land Cruiser is. And that isn't good. But what is good is they made a lot of these. And that for similar money, for a very good example of an older version, you could have this. You could be driving this. Should we do it? Take it around a little off-ramp. So sure, you gotta coerce it a little bit around a corner, but it's not hard. It behaves fantastic. It's got great road manners and it's predictable. I don't know why she's flashing me. Like, I'm definitely coming in here. I'm not coming in here. This is where I'm going. I love this steering. Even the transmission's pretty silky smooth. When you drive a Land Cruiser of this generation, you start to really understand Toyota's reputation and how they got where they are, and how maybe they aren't exactly where they used to be. I prefer this to what's currently on the market from the brand. And that's not to say that I wouldn't like a RAV4 Prime or something, but I do think they've strayed away from the over-engineered, overly robust versions of what they made. And it doesn't take long to realize that when you drive this. I feel really lucky to have gotten to drive such a wonderful example of a Land Cruiser today. This is fantastic. And had I driven this maybe 2 years ago, I may have just bought this. I don't know. I mean, there's always time, but someone's gonna get this on Bring a Trailer and have a phenomenal time stacking tens, if not hundreds of thousands of miles on this thing, because it's just a baby at 88,000 miles. Are you kidding me? That's nothing for a Toyota Land Cruiser. So thank you guys so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. Don't forget to respect the drive, and I will see you in the next one. It's worth mentioning, at least in the post credits, the handles. There's A-pillar handles, we like that, but even look in the back. There's two sets of handles for that door. You've got one in the front and one in the middle, and then there's another one for those passengers. There's a handle for everyone to support themselves on.